Hi, I'm Martin, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing and cooking on the Kamado Joe rotisserie. I've had my rotisserie for about a year now, and honestly it's been a game changer. I've done beef joints, whole chickens, and every cook has come out evenly done and really juicy every time. I've even tried a porchetta once. The flavour was spot on, though the skin wasn't quite as crisp as I wanted. But where this thing really shines is with layered meats, such as chicken, shawarma, gyros. Those cooks are just on another level. What I'm going to do now is, I think I'm going to show you the setup so that you can understand how it all goes together. So first of all, I'm going to take the ring out and we place that on, and it literally just sits there in the middle. On that you've got your bit where your motor goes on, but what's important is where you've got rotisserie here, that has to be perfectly central to your Kamado. So if I just close the lid and just show you, look, you actually see that it's a wedge shape. So it's narrow at the back part and then quite wide at the front here. Right, and then what I've also got here is the motor. So the motor literally slides on there. I'll go and get my extension lead in a minute and we can plug that in. So the other part of the setup is I've put a divider in the basket, and what I've done at the back part here, I filled the basket, that half up, with medium-sized charcoal, but then what I've done, I've put a load of small charcoal over the top. Now I don't know, it's freezing out here today, so I don't really know how long this is going to take to warm up, but let's give it a go. I'll light it now, and then we're going to go and get some food on. Okay, so I've got it lit, so I'll close the lid, and what we do, open the top vent fully. I've got the bottom vent open fully as well to get as much air through there as we can, and then what we're going to do is go and get some food prepared. So, the one thing I want to show you just before we start loading up the meat onto the skewer is, if you see there in the motor, you've got that little square. So what I always do is I put that in there first, and then what I then do is put that roughly where we think the spike's going to be. It's only rough, we can make some minor adjustments after, but I always find that helps us once we've got the meat on. So what we're actually making is Greek gyros, or is it gyros, or is it gyros, or is it gyros? Everyone seems to pronounce it differently, so it's your choice. Okay, so we'll get all the skewer loaded up now. I've got 2 kilo of chicken thighs there that have been marinating overnight. Right, so let's get started. Now, I've got my chicken thighs, like I say, 2 kilo, so there's going to be a lot of food here. Now, when you put the meat on, one thing to be absolutely sure about is that you get part of the meat on a spike, but also whatever you do, watch your fingers, because these are ridiculously sharp, and I have in the past caught my finger on it and massively regretted it. So just try and feed that on, because if we get it on the spike, we're not going to get loads of meat flopping around and things like that. So We're not going to get all the chicken on a spike, but we're going to do our best. And we'll just keep loading it on, loading it on. Fair bit of chicken to get on there. That's gonna feed us tonight, but I think there'll be a few more meals coming out of this as well by as the week goes on. Just feed that on a spike there, and watch your fingers. Get that on the spike there, push that on, and just keep it going. Right, so what we're going to do now is get the other spike on. Once again, watching your fingers. You do not want to get your fingers caught in these spikes. That's the best way of doing this. Just make sure we get all that in there. Some of them spikes have missed the chicken, but what we'll do is get that all nice and tight, look. Nice and tight. Get that screwed up. And there we go. When the Kamado's warmed up, we'll go and give that a cook. So I've got here a dome temperature, if you can read that, at about 140. Now, that's sort of where I want it. What we've got to be careful of with this is, yeah, we do want a bit of charring on it, but I don't want to char all the meat too early and have it all raw in the middle. So we're going to keep it on a lower temperature to start with, and then when it gets up to sort of where we want it to be, about 74 degrees, then we can just whack it up for a bit and just char it. Right, okay, so let's get this chicken on. Just give that a bit of a stir, it's a bit one-sided. That's it, that'll be all right. So this is the bit. So let's get our chicken and get straight over here into the motor like I showed you. Now, as you can see, that is slightly off now. So what we'll do, if we can just undo that slightly, you can see that. I'll move that across, tighten that up. So I'm going to put the motor on now, and we can watch that start going round. So what I'm actually going to do now, look, is I'm going to close the lid. Oh, no, I haven't. What I've got to do before I do anything is turn the motor back off. Forgot to put my meter in. So now what I'm going to do is get my meter into that, right down into the thickest part of that meat there. But what we've got to be careful of is that doesn't touch this, because that's going to get very hot inside, and if it's too close to the meter, it's going to be giving us the wrong temperature reading. So I've got my meter in now. Let's start again. I'll put that back on. So let's now close the lid. So as I said, regarding the vents, what I've done now is I've closed those off a bit, look, just given a little gap there, and the same down here, I've closed that off as well, just to sort of keep that temperature down a bit. So it's been 2.5 hours. We've got a consistent dome temperature of 140 degrees. So my internal temperature at the moment is 65 degrees Celsius. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up and let's have a look, because I'm expecting it to be about 3 hours, this cook. Low and slow is always the way to go with this amount of meat. So let's open it up. Well, it's a lovely colour, but I think what we'll do is we'll just stir this coal a bit. Get a bit of, stir that up, and then I think what we'll do is if I just close that, it's a lovely colour that is. I'm just going to close that up a bit now, and we'll just open the vents slightly like that, and then down the bottom that was quite close, so let's open it up like that, and then we can raise the temperature a bit. So it's been 3 hours now. I've checked the temperature. We are up to internal temperature of 75. So let's just have a look at it. It's gone dark now as well, and it's been snowing, so that's looking good. That's looking really good. Let's get that off. Okay, so let's switch the motor off. Now this is going to be really hot, but we get it off really quickly. There we go, look at that. I know it's dark now, you can't see too much, and it has been snowing, as I say. Just get that closed up. Okay, so what we'll do is, I just, for the sake of demonstration purposes, oh, there's my meter there. Just cut a little bit of that off, look. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that there. You see that? Look at this. Now I'm going to get this in because it's pretty cold now, but as I've spent 3 hours cooking it, I'm going to take Bitmaster's privilege and do a taste test. Oh, that looks hot. Oh God, fantastic. You can really taste the garlic in that. That is absolutely fantastic. If you're going to do my recipe, don't put garlic mayo on it afterwards. So in conclusion, as I say, I've had this for 12 months. I absolutely love this rotisserie. Now, what I would say to you is, it doesn't have to be a Kamado. If you don't own a Kamado, if you've got a kettle that will take a rotisserie, anything, I urge you to get yourself a rotisserie and have an experiment yourself. You just can't go wrong.